The courtroom is oppressively silent. Sunlight streams in through the soaring windows, falling in narrow beams upon the gleaming wood benches. Dust floats lazily within the shafts of light, no one notices. All eyes are on Kody Brown, sitting stiffly at the front, fingers tapping a nervous rhythm along the table's edge. His jaw is set tight, a thin veil of control barely masking the anxiety coiling like a snake within him. Across the room, Christine's gaze fastens, icy and unyielding, burning with a storm she's only barely containing. It's as if even the air itself is charged, heavy with unspoken tension, every heartbeat the potential trigger to an explosion. Today isn't just another hearing. Today feels like the moment when years of buried truths, silent accusations, and fractured trust could finally erupt. He adjusts his glasses, then surveys the room with an air of mild irritation, but his eyes betray an awareness of tension hanging in the courtroom. "We'll begin," he announces, his voice measured, echoing slightly against the high ceilings. "I expect decorum from everyone. Let's proceed." Christine edges closer, her hands clasping a folder so tightly that her knuckles whiten. She takes a deep breath, her chest rising and falling in anticipation of what she knows will be a confrontation unlike any she has had before. "You think you can hide behind words and smiles?" she whispers low, a low hiss. "But not here, not today." Kody shifts in his chair, glancing briefly at her before lowering his eyes to the table, trying to appear calm and composed, though his body language and quivering hands say otherwise. Robyn sits a few seats down, composed on the surface, but her eyes betray the storm inside her. Her hands rest in her lap, fingers intertwined, knuckles tight. Every muscle in her body is tense. She knows the gravity of what's about to unfold. Each testimony, each word exchanged, could tip the delicate balance of this family, possibly irreversibly. Her mind races, thinking of the kids, the public scrutiny, the judgment looming in more ways than one. Yet she steels herself. She knows she must speak, must protect herself, and perhaps, in some fragile hope, the family she loves. The first witness is called. A neighbor, someone who knows more than anyone should, steps forward, adjusts the microphone, and clears their throat. I saw him," they begin, voice wavering slightly. The room leans in, every ear straining. Christine's eyes narrow, scanning the witness with precision. Kody's brow furrows, a shadow of panic flitting across his face before he masks it with a practiced stoicism. Robyn exhales slowly, trying to steady her racing heartbeat. The witness recounts the story in a careful manner, being strongly emphatic with hesitations and glances that betray a fear of saying the truth. "I saw Kody leaving late one night. Carrying something," they say, voice low. The courtroom seems to freeze, the weight of the words sinking into every corner. Murmurs ripple quietly among the spectators, but the sharp gaze of the judge immediately silences them. Kody leans back in his chair, his jaw tightening as a bead of sweat begins to roll down the side of his temple. He shifts his glance to Robyn, then Christine, and back to the witness. He knows this is it, the moment that could shift everything. His lawyer is on his feet in a flash, objecting, the words tumbling out in a rush of legalese, but the dam has cracked. The tension in the room is palpable. Silently, everyone weighs the veracity of the statement and what it could mean. Mary sits quietly, hands folded in her lap, trying not to breathe too loudly. Her eyes are fixed on Kody, her heart caught between fear, frustration, and disbelief. She didn't choose this confrontation, yet here she is, trapped in the crossfire of secrets that refuse to remain hidden. Janelle nervously shifts in her chair, glancing around the room as though the walls themselves might crumble under the weight of what's being revealed. Her forced smile couldn't help but give way to the anxiety etched into her features. The judge cuts off the lawyer's objection to call for order. "Order in the courtroom," he intones, hammering lightly on the gavel. The echo of that reverberates through the space, but does little to dissipate the tension. If anything, it deepens to the consistency of a storm cloud ready to burst. Every glance now, every cough, and the rustling of papers seem to ring out like drumbeats heralding an inevitable explosion. Robyn finally rises, clearing her throat as the judge signals her turn. "I have something to say," she begins, her voice steady, though her hands shake slightly as they grip the edge of the podium. "I can't stay silent anymore. This isn't about me. It's about the family, our children, and the truth." She pauses, letting her words hang in the air like fragile glass. The room holds its collective breath. Christine leans back in her chair, smirking faintly, though her eyes flicker with a momentary unease. Finally, she mutters under her breath, more for herself than for anyone else. Robyn continues, detailing observations, moments that contradict the narratives thus far pulled and accepted, without making blatant accusations that may bring on immediate legal backlash. Every sentence has been measured, deliberate, a calculated dance between truth and caution. Kody's fingers drum lightly against the table, a nervous tick he cannot suppress. His eyes flash up to the gallery to Robyn and finally to Christine, who meets his gaze squarely, unwavering. The silence that follows her testimony is suffocating. It stretches and stretches until it seems as though even the air has frozen in place. Outside the courtroom, cameras flash incessantly, catching fragments of expressions, every movement amplified for the world to see. But inside, raw emotions are unfiltered, impossible to contain. Kody swallows hard, trying to find words that might still the storm, but none come. Christine shifts in her seat, her jaw tight, her mind racing through strategies and responses. Mary and Janelle exchange anxious glances, silently pleading for some resolution that might never come. The judge finally speaks again, voice slicing through the tension. We will take a brief recess. I want everyone to reflect on the testimonies presented before we continue. The gavel strikes, echoing like a drum signaling a temporary pause in a battle. Kody exhales slowly, shoulders sagging, but the reprieve is fleeting. Outside, whispers swirl, cameras click, and reporters murmur predictions, but inside, the family knows the war is far from over. Christine stands as the doors close behind the leaving spectators. You think this ends in your favor? She hisses, voice low, lethal. Kody says nothing. His jaw tight, he fixes his eyes on the floor, trying to steady the panic rising inside him. Robyn keeps a close eye on him, torn between sympathy and frustration, knowing the story has only just begun. Every secret, every withheld truth, every unspoken betrayal hangs in the air, waiting for its turn to be revealed. The courtroom is a powder keg, and nobody can tell which spark will ignite the explosion. One thing is certain. The first bombshell has yet to drop, and when it does, it will leave no one untouched. Yet again, the gavel goes down, proclaiming the end of the session. But in reality, it's just the beginning. Kody's mind races. Christine's determination hardens, and Robyn readies herself for the storm that she can no longer avoid. Outside, the world waits, hungry for the drama, but inside, the real drama is just beginning to simmer, and the flames are only growing. The courtroom opens again with the tense recess, the air thick with anticipation. Spectators shuffle to their seats, whispers floating, ghostly echoes off the polished wooden walls. Kody sits at the front, still attempting to mask the fear etched across his face. Christine's gaze cuts through the room, sharp and unforgiving. Robyn's hands rest in her lap, knuckles white, her eyes flicking nervously between Kody and the judge. The tension was palpable, almost tangible, like a living thing coiling around everyone present. The judge clears his throat and, after a scan of the room, leans slightly forward. We will continue with testimonies. Ms. Christine, you may present your evidence. Christine rises with a controlled grace, her folder clutched tightly to her chest. Every eye in the room is on her. Her lips press into a firm line as she walks toward the podium, the polished floor echoing softly beneath her heels. I have proof, Christine says, her voice even but low, the weight of each word hitting like a hammer against stone. Christine pauses, eyes flicking momentarily to Kody, who shifts uncomfortably in his chair. The documents she lays out across the podium will tell the story, an amalgamation of emails, receipts, and photographs that form a picture no one counted on. The courtroom leans forward as she places each piece of evidence with precision, subtle force building with each utterance. Robyn's eyes widen slightly. She hadn't anticipated the full scope of Christine's revelations. Each document, each picture, cuts deeper than the last, exposing layers of secrets and betrayals that had been so artfully hidden for so many years. Kody swallows hard, his eyes darting toward his legal team, who give nothing away in their expressions. The room is silent except for Christine's calm, methodical recitation. Mary shifts uncomfortably in her seat. She had tried to avoid being present, to put some distance between herself and the legal mess, but the unfolding truth demands attention. Her hands are tightly clasped together, her nails digging into her palms. Janelle fidgets as well, the forced composure slipping as implications of Christine's evidence set in. It's claustrophobic. The air is thick with anticipation, judgment, and fear. The first shot comes when Christine slides a series of photographs across the podium. They depict private moments Kody had hoped would never surface. Late-night meetings, whispered conversations, secret exchanges that suggest a double life. A murmur ripples through the gallery, quickly stifled by the sharp gaze of the judge. Kody's jaw tightens. Sweat glistens on his temple. He opens his mouth to speak but closes it again, the words failing him. Christine's voice is steely now. "These are not just coincidences," she says squarely to Kody. "They're a pattern. A betrayal repeated. And I'm here to make sure the truth comes to light." The declaration reverberates in the courtroom. A drumbeat of accusation and resolution. Robyn sits forward, the muscles across her chest coiling with tension. Her voice, when she speaks, shakes but carries strength with it. "We all deserve to know the truth," she says softly. "Not just for ourselves, but for the kids. For the future of this family." Christine's smirk falters, if only briefly, replaced by a flicker of unease. The judge nods, his expression neutral, but eyes narrowing slightly. "We will now hear the next witness," he announces, signaling a pause in Christine's presentation. The door opens suddenly, and a woman enters, a neighbor with claims that have long been whispered but never confirmed. Again, the room falls silent. "I saw Kody," the neighbor begins, voice low but firm, "carrying something late at night, something he shouldn't have." A collective gasp sweeps the room. Even Christine's lips part in mild surprise. Kody's lawyer immediately rises, objecting, but the objection is swiftly overruled. The weight of the accusation hangs in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Kody leans back, jaw tightening, eyes narrowing. He had hoped the night's events would remain private, contained, forgotten. But here, under the harsh courtroom lights, every secret is exposed, every lie amplified. Robyn's face hardens, heart racing, as she watches him squirm under the weight of the revelations. Mary shifts in her seat, guilt, fear, and helplessness intertwining in a tight knot in her chest. Janelle exhales sharply, trying to steady herself, anxiety etched into her face, impossible to mask. The witness continues, detailing moments of secrecy and deception in minute detail. Every sentence comes down like a hammer, every pause a reminder of fragile trust broken. Color drains out of Kody's face. His fingers clench into fists on the table. Robyn's eyes well up as she realizes the depth of the betrayal, the hidden fissures threatening to tear the family apart. Christine leans back, letting the testimony settle in. Her eyes are sharp, calculating, yet there's a flicker of doubt crossing her face. For all her anger and determination, she didn't anticipate the full impact this witness would have not on Kody, and not on her own perception of the family she's spent decades entwined with. The judge leans forward, his voice low but commanding. "We will recess for a brief period before further questioning." With the strike of the gavel and its echo across the high ceilings, the tension does not break, but instead mounts, pushing down on everyone in the room. Spectators exchange whispered conjectures. Reporters click away at cameras without end, but inside, the real drama simmers, waiting for the next spark. Robyn leans back slightly, exhaling shakily. She had been prepared for confrontation, for truths to emerge, but the sheer intensity of the moment leaves her momentarily breathless. "I didn't think it would be this explosive," she murmurs under her breath. Mary looks at her, eyes wide, silently agreeing. Janelle looks down, hands folded tightly, heart pounding. As the courtroom briefly empties for recess, Christine gets her papers together with neat efficiency. Her eyes meet Kody's across the room. "You're cornered now," she says in a low, venom-filled tone under her breath. Kody doesn't say a word. He just fidgets uneasily in his seat because he knows the battle has just truly begun. The witness sat quietly in the corner, observing the reactions with a mixture of satisfaction and apprehension. One round of revelations had already been made, but the most damaging truths were yet to come. Kody's legal team was in a huddle, whispering strategy, but even they knew the magnitude of what was unfolding. The room resumed, voices hushed but charged with anticipation. The witness was called again, this time with documents and photographs corroborating the first claims. With each piece, another layer was added to the unfolding drama. The courtroom hung onto every word, every detail, as if the walls themselves might come crumbling down under the weight of the revelations. The fingers of Robyn's hands grip the edge of her seat as she listens, her eyes fixed on the documents displayed. Her mind runs through every past argument, every hidden conversation, every moment that seems to take on a new and devastating significance. Christine leans forward slightly. A subtle smirk plays upon her lips, though in her eyes a flicker of concern dances. Kody swallows hard, trying to find words to counter the growing mountain of evidence against him, but each attempt feels increasingly futile. The judge finally stands, voice steady but commanding. This concludes the testimony for today. We will resume tomorrow for further review and cross-examination. The gavel strikes, but the room remains heavy with unspoken tension. Spectators file out quietly, murmuring among themselves, but the weight of the day's revelations lingers, pressing on everyone like a storm yet to break. Kody reclines, trying to regain his composure, as his mind is racing with defenses and what else might come. Robyn exhales a slow breath, her heart still racing, knowing the next round could mean even more shocking truths coming to light. Christine gathers her papers, eyes sharp for the battles yet to come. Mary and Janelle stay seated for a moment longer, absorbing the weight of what they have just seen. The courtroom hums the next morning with a tense energy that is almost electric. The revelations from the day before seem to have set everyone on edge. Cameras flash as the family files in, but inside, the tension is far thicker than any media can capture. Kody sits at the front, shoulders rigid, trying to maintain an air of control, but the faint tremble in his hands betrays the storm inside. Christine's gaze is sharp, piercing, unrelenting. Every inch of her posture speaks of readiness, like she's preparing for battle. Robyn sits quietly, but her fingers drum lightly against her lap, betraying the anxiety she's trying to suppress. The judge clears his throat and calls the room to attention. We shall proceed with testimonies. Ms. Robyn, you may proceed. Robyn rises slowly, exhaling deeply, knowing that today's testimony will bring truths that could devastate or heal, or perhaps do both. She walks toward the podium, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor, each step deliberate, each one carrying the weight of unspoken emotions. I need to speak, she begins, voice trembling slightly yet firm enough to command attention. Not just for me, but for the kids, for everyone involved. They deserve to know the truth. The courtroom falls silent. Even the spectators, trained to react to scandal, hold their collective breath. Kody shifts uncomfortably, glancing toward her, a flicker of fear crossing his features. Christine leans back, folding her arms, a sharp smile playing across her lips. But subtle unease betrays her eyes. Robyn recounts moments that have long been kept behind closed doors. Secret arguments, late-night phone calls, whispered conversations that never reached the public eye. She details them carefully, weaving emotion into every word to make sure her narrative is as convincing as it is compelling. Every pause, every glance toward the gallery or Kody lends more weight to her testimony. Christine interjects sharply, standing and pointing a finger. That's not how it happened, she hisses, her voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. The judge raises a hand, signaling her to remain seated, but doesn't ease the tension. Kody shifts again, his jaw tight, hands clenching into fists, as if holding himself together physically might prevent the emotional collapse threatening him. With each revelation, the room grows heavier. Mary sits quietly, staring at the table as if trying to make sense of this unraveling chaos. Janelle clasps her hands tightly, her heart racing, darting her eyes between Kody and Robyn. She knows the bonds within this family are tenuous at best, and the wrong move could send them crashing into ruin. A surprise witness is called. The courtroom gasps en masse. I have information that no one has shared, the witness begins, his voice low but steady. Things that could change the outcome of this case entirely. The judge leans forward, interested but cautious. Every head turns toward the witness. Every eye locks onto the unfolding revelation. Kody swallows hard, the flicker of panic crossing his eyes. The witness describes moments that nobody ever thought would see the light of day. Clandestine alliances, nighttime trysts, whispered betrayals. Every word drops like a weight, as if the very air in the room is being compressed. Robyn exhales sharply, emotion flitting across her features as she listens to the testimony. Christine's smirk falters for a moment, replaced by a flicker of concern. Even Kody's lawyer seems perturbed, whispering furiously in his client's ear. Kody leaps to his feet, attempting to interrupt, but the judge's stern gaze cuts him off in mid-sentence. Order in the courtroom, the judge says. Let the witness finish. Kody exhales sharply through clenched teeth, fighting to compose himself. but the tension emanating from him is palpable. The witness reaches into the bag, pulls out a folder full of photos, messages, and receipts, and lays them on the podium one by one. Each piece tells its own story better than any words could. Late-night meetings, financial discrepancies, private communications, all captured with precision. The room holds its collective breath as the evidence is brought out, displaying pictures and notes that send shockwaves through every person in the room. Tears fill Robyn's eyes as she deals with the depth of the betrayals laid out before her. She suspected some, but it is the whole that makes her real. Mary lets out a sharp exhale. Her hands are shaking as she recognizes patterns she had tried to ignore. Janelle swallows hard, clutching the edge of her chair. Christine's lips press tightly together, her eyes narrowing at the audacity of the revelations. Kody says nothing, sitting hunched over, a low, rattling breath escaping his lips. The judge examines the evidence thoroughly, occasionally looking over at the attorneys, weighing the implications. This testimony and evidence need to be reviewed very closely, he declares with due solemnity. We will take a brief recess, then proceed with the cross-examination. The gavel falls, its voice resounding through the room, but the emotional resonance will not settle. The courtroom clears momentarily, save those who remain seated like whirlwind-like whispers that begin to circle. Spectators speculate on theories, reporters furiously jot down notes, but the family is frozen, speechless from the intensity of the revelations. Kody leans back, running his hand over his hair, trying to keep the panic rising in his chest. Robyn presses her hands down on her knees and tries to steady herself. Christine collates her documents in quick, neat movements, her lips thin, her eyes calculating the next move. The recess is over. The courtroom resumes its proceedings. The feeling in the air is heavier now, as every person is aware that the testimonies that will be heard next are going to be decisive. Christine rises, voice controlled but charged with intent. There's more that needs to be addressed, she declares, laying another set of documents on the podium. The room leans in silent, the weight of anticipation pressing down on everyone. The judge nods, allowing Christine to continue. These messages, these records, they reveal patterns that can't be ignored, she explains, her voice low but firm. Secrets that have been hidden for years are now exposed. And the consequences will be significant. Her words hang in the air, tension vibrating like a live wire. Robyn shifts, looks over at Kody, heart racing. She knew there was deception upon deception layered within the story, but even she is surprised at how deep it actually goes. Mary momentarily buries her face in her hands as if some of the truth hits her like a blow. Janelle exhales, trying to keep her composure, but the anxiety is palpable. Kody sits rock still, his jaw clenched tight, eyes fastened to the floor, wordless except for the fleeting glances of nervousness toward his counsel. Christine continues, displaying evidence of financial discrepancies and personal communications, which insinuate there were secret relationships and alliances. Each new piece of information adds weight, pressure, and drama. Robyn listens intently, the emotional turmoil playing across her face. Kody's jaw tightens further. His calm facade is cracking under the pressure. Even the judge stops for a moment, taking in the full breadth of evidence laid before him. The courtroom falls silent, and anticipation is thick in the air. Every word, every glance, every slight movement feels magnified. Kody shifts uncomfortably. Robyn leans a little farther forward. Mary freezes, and Christine's eyes sparkle with a mixture of triumph and anxiety. The tension is almost unbearable, each second stretching longer than the last. The judge finally speaks up, his voice steady but firm. We will reconvene tomorrow to continue further testimony and cross-examination. I want everyone to reflect on today's revelations. The gavel strikes, but the emotional shockwave continues to ripple through the room. Outside, flashbulbs light up in a nonstop spiral, capturing every partial expression for the public waiting outside. Inside, the family is left to fully comprehend the breadth of what has come to pass. Secrets will be dug up that were well and truly buried, and it's not clear which direction they'll take from here. Kody exhales a sigh, his shoulders sagging. Tomorrow could bring even more revelations, the ones that might break the family completely. As the courtroom clears, the tension remains thick, unbroken. Robyn turns toward Kody with eyes filled with sadness and determination. Christine gathers her papers methodically, lips pressed tightly, eyes calculating. Mary exhales softly. Her hands tremble as she does so. Janelle glances toward the exit, unsure of what the future holds. Outside, the world watches, but inside, The real drama is just beginning. The next morning, it feels like the courtroom is holding its breath. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, casting long shadows across polished wooden benches, highlighting each expression, each twitch, each sign of tension. Kody sits rigid at the front, hands clasped tightly on the table, trying to still the tremor in his fingers. His jaw is clamped, lips pressed together, and his eyes dart from Christine to Robyn as if bracing himself for the storm he knows is coming. Christine leans forward, a small smirk playing on her lips, yet her eyes glint with a determined underlying anxiety. Robyn sits with her hands folded in her lap, trying to show composure, but every little shift of the chair betrays her nervous anticipation. The judge clears his throat, commanding attention. "We will continue with testimony. Ms. Christine, you may proceed." Christine rises with poise, walking with precision to the podium, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Her hands clutch the folder tightly, knuckles white. Every eye in the courtroom follows her, aware that what she is about to reveal could alter everything. "It's time everyone knows the truth," Christine says, her voice even but laced with years of pent-up frustration. "This is not about accusations. It's about revealing what has been concealed for much too long." She opens the first envelope and spreads photos and documents over the podium. The room leans forward in unison. Murmurs rush through the gallery, immediately silenced by the judge's sharp glare. Kody's lawyer is on his feet in a second, ready to object, but the judge raises his hand. "Let the evidence be presented," he says, his eyes fixed intently on Christine, the solemnity of the moment acknowledged. The first set of documents reveals financial discrepancies, transactions, hidden accounts, and expenses that raise more questions than answers. Kody's face whitens as Christine lays out each piece of evidence with such deliberation that her calm delivery only makes the accusations sharp. Robyn's eyes widen in disbelief, heart racing. She suspected the irregularities but hadn't envisioned the full scale. Mary's hands shake in her lap, her nails digging deep into the flesh of her palms. Janelle exhales sharply, her eyes darting between Kody and Christine. The forced calm begins to crack. Christine now slides a series of photographs across the podium. They show moments that were intended to remain private. Kody leaving homes late at night, secret meetings, and exchanges with people whose identity was not yet known to the family. The courtroom hushes. Kody shifts in his chair, his jaw tightening. His hands begin to shake worse. Robyn clasps her hands together as her eyes well up with tears, while Christine's thin-lined lips curve in a mix of triumph and anticipation. The judge leans forward, voice measured but heavy with authority. "These revelations require careful consideration. Proceed with caution, Ms. Christine." Christine nods, taking a deep breath before continuing. She pulls out a new envelope and slides it across the podium with deliberate precision. Inside are personal communications, messages, emails, and notes that show betrayal at levels nobody had anticipated. Christine reads them aloud, her voice steady, charged. Every word drops like a hammer. Every well-timed pause allows the courtroom to absorb the full weight of the revelations. Kody's face grows increasingly pale. He opens his mouth, attempts to speak, but the words catch in his throat. Robyn's breathing quickens as she presses her fingers into her lap to steady herself. Mary buries her face briefly in her hands, overwhelmed by the depth of deception being revealed. Janelle grips the armrest tightly, trying to stay composed, heart pounding as the emotional tension in the room rises to almost unbearable levels. The air falls silent as Christine uncovers the most incriminating evidence to date. A paper filled with secret agreements and behind-the-scenes decisions that Kody had entered into without the others being aware. In shock, gasps barely escape the onlookers. The judge stops, adjusts his glasses, and digests the magnitude of the revelation. Even the attorneys share anxious whispers. They know this could be what turns this case around in a completely different direction. The doors burst open, and a surprise witness steps inside. Their presence sends a ripple of unease through the room. "I have information no one else has spoken of," the witness announces, voice steady but commanding. Every head turns toward them, and Kody swallows hard, a flicker of panic in his eyes. This witness tells the hidden events that no one expected to be brought forward, conversations in the middle of the night, clandestine meetings and actions opposite the narratives each family member has held for years. Every sentence is filled with emotion, shaking the courtroom. Robyn's lips part in incredulity. Christine's expression of smugness falters for the first time, a flash of doubt crossing her features. Kody clenches his fists on the table, his jaw tight, trying not to show emotion. The witness digs into their bag and pulls out another set of documents, photos, notes, receipts, all of which corroborate previous claims and add new, explosive details. The evidence painted a picture of a family riddled with secrets, betrayals, and alliances that had been carefully kept from view. The tension in the courtroom reaches a boiling point. Even the judge leans forward, intrigued and cautious, fully aware of the emotional storm unfolding before him. Robyn's eyes well up with tears as she grapples with the depth of the deception. The comfortable past to which she had clung now seemed fragile, an illusion. Mary lets out a shaking breath, quivering hands unable to stem her emotion. Janelle presses her hands together tightly, attempting composure, her anxiety seeping through. Christine leans back, with a faint glimmer of satisfaction mingled with trepidation in her features. Kody sits in silence, hunched over, barely holding it all together. Christine's voice cuts through the tense silence. This is only the beginning. There are still truths that have yet to be revealed, ones that will change everything. The courtroom is frozen, every listener acutely aware of the gravity of her statement. Robyn swallows hard, heart pounding. Mary exhales slowly, trying to steady herself. Janelle shifts slightly in her seat, tension coiling in her chest. Kody's hands tremble slightly as he clenches them into fists. The judge rises slightly, his tone calm but firm. We will adjourn for the day. Further testimony and cross-examination will continue tomorrow. The gavel strikes, echoing through the high-ceilinged room, but the emotional shockwave does not dissipate. The family remains trapped in the storm Christine has unleashed, each member processing the revelations and wondering what could possibly come next. Whispers swirl like a tempest as the onlookers filter out. Cameras flash incessantly, capturing every expression, but inside, the real drama was far from over. Kody runs a hand through his hair, tension oozing out of every pore. Robyn leans slightly forward, in an apparent attempt to collect herself. Christine methodically gathers her documents, lips pressed into a firm line, with eyes gleaming with calculated determination. Mary lets out a soft sigh, the trembling of her hands belying her outward calm. Janelle looks toward the exit, at a loss for how she'll face the next day. The world outside speculates and debates, but the family inside knows that the story has been told only halfway, and the most devastating revelations are yet to come. Every secret kept hidden, every betrayal unspoken, every emotion suppressed is waiting in the wings, ready to be bared. The next session promises a storm that will leave nobody unscathed. The tension in the courtroom is beyond measure as the fifth session gets underway. The fallout from the revelations of the day before hangs in the air, like smoke from a fire not yet completely burned out. Kody sits ramrod straight at the front, his hands clasped tight together, knuckles white. His jaw is set while his trembling fingers betray the tempest inside him. Christine sits slightly forward, her eyes keen, darting around the room for any sign of weakness. Robyn sits still, her heart racing, trying to compose herself while knowing full well what's next might change the dynamics of the family forever. The judge clears his throat, signaling the beginning of the session. We will continue with testimony. Ms. Robyn, you may proceed. Robyn rises slowly, taking a deep breath before stepping toward the podium. Each step feels deliberate, weighted with the responsibility of revealing truths that could either heal or destroy. She places her hands on the podium, looks briefly at Kody, then Christine, and commences to speak. I've tried to stay silent, Robyn says, her voice sure but laced with emotion. I've tried to protect the family, protect the children, but there are truths that can't stay hidden anymore. She pauses, letting the words hang in the air. The courtroom is silent. Every eye is on her. Kody shifts in his seat, his jaw tight, bracing himself. Christine leans back slightly, a smirk playing across her lips, though the flicker of uncertainty is visible in her eyes. Robyn recalls hidden arguments, late-night phone calls, and private conversations that no one else had ever witnessed. She is quick to choose the right words, lacing facts with emotion as she wove a narrative both moving and believable. Every pause, every glance, every subtle inflection weighed in her testimony. The courtroom holds its breath as if every heartbeat is synchronized with hers. The first bombshell comes when Robyn produces a folder filled with photographs and messages. Each one painted a picture of deception, secret alliances, and of moments so contrary to what had always been believed. Kody sags back into his chair, pale and tense, clenching his fists at the table. Robyn's eyes well up as she accounted for details that were always whispered but never confirmed. Christine's lips clamped tight, her usual confidence flickering under the weight of this new evidence. The judge watches intently, eyebrows slightly furrowed. "We will allow the evidence to be submitted," he says, voice calm but commanding. "Proceed with caution." Robyn nods, takes a deep breath, then continues with measured intensity. The air chills as she starts describing secret financial transactions. Money moved, accounts hidden, unexplained expenditures. With each detail, it's like a hammer slamming down, ratcheting up the tension in the room. Mary's hands shake in her lap. Janelle fidgets with her seat. Christine's eyes narrow, assessing the best course of action. Kody's lawyer gets to his feet, ready to object, but the judge waves him off, signaling that the proof must be compelling and heard. Suddenly, the courtroom doors burst open, and another witness is summoned, a longtime friend, an ally who has kept silent until now. Their presence sends a wave of anxiety around the room. "I have knowledge that no one else has revealed," the witness begins, their voice low but unwavering. "Things that will change how you see everything." Every head turns in their direction. Kody swallows hard, a flicker of panic in his eyes. Christine straightens, her usually confident posture tightened almost imperceptibly. It's the stuff of secret meetings, private conversations and deceptions that no one had expected to rise to the surface. Each sentence settles in with the weight of truth that shakes the very courtroom. Robyn clasps her hands together to keep them from trembling. Mary bites her lip, eyes large in shock. Janelle exhales slowly, her chair in a vice-like grip, attempting to remain calm. Kody leans forward, his jaw tight as he scrambles for a response. The witness pulls out a folder containing photographs, receipts and notes corroborating prior claims and revealing new, explosive details. The room collectively holds its breath. Each document, each image is like a puzzle piece that finally makes the disturbing picture clear. The tension is nearly unbearable as every word, every glance, every gesture is digested by the courtroom. Robyn's lips quiver with her attempt to hold back her emotions. The evidence becomes too heavy emotionally, and she is close to breaking down. Kody tenses his shoulders, and for a moment a flash of fear moves across his face. Christine observes intently, cloaking her own growing unease. Even the judge bends slightly forward as he realizes the enormity of what is beginning to surface. Christine stands up, trying to recover the situation. "This evidence doesn't tell the whole story," she says, her voice firm but tinged with desperation. "There are explanations that need to be considered." She opens her folder and starts showing documents that attempt to refute Robyn's claims. Each piece of paper, each email, each note had been aimed at sowing doubt, but the emotional intensity within the room increases. Kody sits in silence, his jaw tight, his eyes flicking from Christine to Robyn. He knows that no matter what is said now, the damage has been done. Robyn's testimony has already brought out cracks that may never be repaired. The breathing quickens for Mary as she looks at Janelle, silent understanding passing between them over the fragile state of the family. The judge clears his throat and says, "We will take a short recess before restarting the cross." The gavel falls, but the tension does not break. Instead, it just lingers in the air like smoke, thick and stifling. Outside the courtroom, cameras flash unceasingly, capturing expressions and whispered conversations. Reporters murmur predictions, but inside, the family is caught in a storm of their making. Kody leans back, exhaling shakily to regain control. Robyn wipes a tear off her cheek, heart racing. Christine gathers her papers with methodical precision, lips pressed tightly together, eyes calculating. Mary clasps her hands together, trying to steady herself, while Janelle exhales slowly, the anxiety palpable. The courtroom reconvenes after the recess, and the atmosphere becomes almost unbearable. Robyn resumes, presenting more evidence that has been kept hidden for years. Messages, photographs, and secret plans that suggest there was deceit at the highest levels. With each revelation, the cut goes deeper, exposing fractures in relationships that seemed solid. Kody leans forward, jaw tight, his hands trembling slightly. Christine watches intently, her expression carefully neutral, though subtle unease betrays her eyes. Robyn's last piece of evidence is the most damaging a series of communications between Kody and an unknown party, showing hidden alliances and decisions that could have far-reaching consequences. The courtroom falls silent, the weight of the revelation pressing down on each person present. Kody swallows hard, knowing full well there is no easy way out. The judge stood up, his tone calm but in command. "We will adjourn for today. Cross-examination and further testimony will continue tomorrow. The gavel strikes, resounding through the high-ceilinged room, but the emotional shockwave remains. Spectators filed out in silence, whispering amongst themselves, while the family remained frozen, caught in the storm of revelations Christine and Robyn have unleashed. Kody sits silently, hands clasped, trying to process the avalanche of evidence and testimonies. Robyn leans back, exhaling shakily, trying to steady herself, knowing that the next day will bring even more revelations. Christine carefully organizes her documents, eyes gleaming with determination, while Mary and Janelle sit quietly, overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of the proceedings. The courtroom clears, but the tension in the air lingers on. Every secret that has gone unspoken, every betrayal, every truth that was hidden still waits for its turn to come out. Tomorrow promises revelations that may heal the family or shatter it completely. The storm is far from over, and nobody is certain who will survive the emotional fallout.